My name is Kimberly Kerr, and I'm a graduate student at Grand Canyon University to pursue a master's in early childhood education and early childhood special education. For the last 10 years, I have worked as a paraprofessional, and I currently work as a building-based substitute teacher. I enjoy it a lot because I love seeing the different curriculums in action, and it gives me ideas on what I'd like for my classroom when I graduate. And I was asked what's my philosophy on education, and I could never answer that, at least until my son was born. My philosophy is to be the teacher I'd want Connor to have, someone who is compassionate, loving, and patient while also maintaining professionalism and upholding classroom expectations. As an early childhood educator, it's important to view a child as exactly that. A child rather than a vessel, like, how we just fill a car with gas. No. When it comes to teaching the whole child, safety is key. It's our job to ensure they're physically and emotionally safe. And I tell my students all the time, it's my first job is to keep you safe. My second job is to teach you. And when I was studying for my undergrad, there's a quote by my professor that always stuck by me, even 10 years later. Children don't care what their teachers know until they know their teachers care. And there are so many influential figures when it comes to early childhood education, but my top two favorites are Piaget's cognitive development theory and Montessori's curriculum, if I said that right. Prior to Piaget's groundbreaking findings, children were just viewed as these tiny adults. They were expected to understand the world and to think like an adult at birth, which caused frustration and anger. But Piaget's theory gave realistic expectations for a child's development. For example, if I work in a preschool, I'm not going to tell my students to read a chapter of Charlotte's Web for homework like I would for third grade. And if I teach third grade, I will not be teaching high school level calculus because they are unable to grasp such concepts yet. And I love Montessori's curriculum because children are naturally curious and their love of learning will naturally grow. And additionally, it focuses on inclusion, which is perfect for special education, whether it's an inclusive or a self-contained class, as it encourages independent hands-on learning, and it can be easily modified for the child, which is a bonus. And speaking of inclusivity, it's a vital part of education because children learn about each other by interaction, whether it's play or group work. And in an inclusive setting, general education students are more likely to have patience and empathy because they're willing to work with special education students to make sure that they understand the material. And more than likely, even though it's not pleasant, they have witnessed the students' difficulties. And I want families of the special education students to have peace of mind that their children are safe with me and my other students. If their child experiences difficulties or behavior, anything like that, the situation will be handled in a way that their child will not lose their dignity and gain a stigma. They will always be welcome back into my classroom. In New Jersey, we have a program called the New Jersey Head Start Association, which helps low-income families from pregnancy to preschool age with social services, healthcare, and education. A lot of low-income families have little to no involvement in their child's education, which is very unfortunate, but it's a sad reality. And Head Start wants to change that by helping families build relationships with educators and each other. There have been excellent results because children are less likely to be in foster care, they're more prepared for school, and they are less likely to get with the wrong crowd and get into trouble, and they're less likely to drop out. I want my students to look forward to coming to school, but I'd also want them to stay safe. Maintaining classroom expectations and following through with consequences will not only teach my students respect, but also how to follow the rules and eventually follow the laws when they're grown. It's important to be proactive as an educator. If I suspect there's a problem, I will immediately address it with the student's caregivers and the child study team. And if a student has an IEP, I am to follow it thoroughly and attend all IEP meetings to list any improvements or regressions, and gently and compassionately, but professionally, give suggestions on how to modify it so their child does not fall behind. And for the last 5.5 minutes, I described the type of teacher that I'd want my son to have. And I want to feel at peace knowing Connor is in a safe and loving environment, but also a structured environment. I want him to learn that actions have consequences, and if he makes a bad choice, he is not to argue it, he is just to face it. I hope to give students' families that same feeling when their children are under my care. Because as long as I can remember, I always knew I wanted to become a teacher. So I am definitely ready to pursue the plan God has for me. Thanks for listening. God bless.